jobs for women. Women comprise 80% of the employees at this lock factory. The factory's barefoot doctors keep track of the women's menstrual cycles and deliver birth control pills at the proper time.
Okay, stop it right there. So I just want to point out they have admitted they're encouraging women to work as a major plank of their family planning program and even regulating their menstrual cycles. We think this is okay. No, it's a scientific takeover of humanity. They are restricting the natural birth cycle of humans, whether or not you think there's too many people or whatever. I don't think we want a authoritarian scientific dictatorship in charge. Let's go on with the clips, please.
The government encourages late marriages and small families.
There it is from this document. Postpone or avoid marriage. Alter the image of the ideal family size. Keep going, please.
Parents should have only 2 children, with a recommended spacing of 4 years.
And these are short clips. We have longer ones posted on Infowars, including in the article I wrote over the weekend. China, slave state where the family is outlawed and the rich breed in secret. That's right, in the one-child state, the rich are having test tube babies 8 at a time in this particular case. But the bigger point here is that you've got this Planned Parenthood mechanism and the Rockefeller Foundation-funded Population Council producing these propaganda videos and encouraging these publications where they're trying to brainwash the population into having fewer children and for the state to dictate how many children you could have. That's the key. The state is who decides what kind of family you should have. And that's why this is so alarming, especially when it comes to putting fertility control agents in the water supply and hormonally changing people, including encouraging homosexuality. I mean, it's just nightmarish what this government and the related NGOs and the United Nations foundations like UNESCO think they can do to us. I know Alex has covered this in depth. I don't want to get too much into it, but this is a shocking document, and you will find it at Infowars.com. We cover it in depth there. Now, when we come back from break, we have that exclusive interview with Colonel Craig Roberts. It's going to be dynamite, but first we want to play a short clip from him in the film A Noble Lie on the Oklahoma City bombing of 1995. This is a powerful film. I've seen it for myself. I was blown away. I cannot recommend it enough. We have it here at Infowars, but we've been selling out because people are so interested in this topic right now. So get it and share it with other people, then buy more copies to support the filmmakers. Again, that's at Infowars.com. Let's go to that clip of Colonel Craig Roberts right now.
Day 1, hour 2 of the bombing, the most significant event that happened is when they said they found other bombs in the building. The second most significant event was that they moved everybody back and held them back. There were still people alive trapped in the building, but they came in with 2 trucks and backed them up to the Murrah building, and a bunch of these guys dressed in blue jackets with no letters on the back started taking boxes of files out and putting them on this truck. And it was during this time that early in the investigation that I started receiving some various phone calls. One of them was a phone call from Little Rock, Arkansas. The guy said that he was a federal agent. He was not an FBI agent. He was not ATF. But what he did say was during their investigation of the Clintons, on all the drug running that went through Mena, Arkansas, and Lassiter's Ranch and all of that stuff that was going on at the time during Iran-Contra, that those records, when Clinton went to Washington, were transferred from there to the Murrah building. Of course, the other Achilles heel is the videotapes of the building itself from the different surveillance cameras that no one's seen. If McVeigh was Lee Harvey McVeigh all by himself, the lone nut with the truck, then why don't they show us the videotapes of the truck? Show us the videotapes of him getting out. Or was there more than him in the truck?
And that's just a short clip, folks. I mean, this whole Oklahoma City thing is not only an inside job, it is a conspiracy. It's cold-blooded murder. It's just unbelievable. You got to see the section they have on Terrence Yakey. But that is all coming up with Colonel Craig Roberts. I want to remind you at prisonplanet.tv, there's another 15-day free trial. You can try it out, see all the great things you get, and then you can choose to get a membership and support us and this broadcast, help us get the word out, all at a discount. Our Christmas specials are still running, I think, to the end of the year. At any rate, they're active today, so help us out today. Get a membership. We'll be back in just a moment after this short break.
We were brought up loving our country and our Constitution. That in the United States of America, we were free. And that's an attitude that we've tried to instill in our children. I met my wife while in the Air Force. I was a combat pilot in Vietnam. I served in Desert Storm as a commander. When I graduated from the academy, I took the oath of office. And as a commander, I administered that oath to many people. Now I wonder about the understanding people have of our Constitution, and I think about our candidates for President of the United States. It's interesting to see the support Ron Paul gets from the military. And if we think back to the code of conduct and people raising their right hand that they were going to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, why would those same people support in great numbers Ron Paul? I think it's because they know that he supports the Constitution of the United States. It doesn't mean you have to go to war to do it. It means you have to understand what the Constitution is and be a supporter inside of your own country, whether you're in the military or not, of that Constitution, and make the United States strong. And Ron Paul does that. That's his feeling. That's his thrust. And that's why if you look at the percentages that support him in the military, it's huge. Why is that? Because they've raised their right hands and they're putting their lives on the line for us here in the United States. And they know that Ron Paul does the same.
We are back on the Infowars Nightly News. We are joined now by Colonel Craig Roberts. As we showed you before the break, he appears in the film A Noble Lie, a wonderful expose of the Oklahoma City false flag bombing. He's a retired Tulsa police officer. He was on the fugitive squad, the bomb squad, the police helicopter pilot. He was also an Army intelligence officer and a Marine Corps sniper in Vietnam, as well as an author of numerous books and has worked in TV. He joins us now to talk about the Oklahoma City bombing. Thank you, Colonel Roberts.
Yeah, glad to be with you.
Now, for those who haven't seen the film, give us an overview of what this film covers, and as we talked about before this interview began, how there's so much more to the story than they could even put in this 2-hour documentary.
Well, yeah, it's, I spent 8 years on the case myself, 6 months while I was still a police officer, and then after I retired, I continued working on the case because there was just so much more out there that didn't come before the public. The media wouldn't bring it up, wouldn't touch it with a stick. We chased so many leads, so many different directions. We know that there's a lot more people involved than just McVeigh and Nichols. Basically, the bottom line in the movie is Charles Key, the state representative from Oklahoma that was real involved in trying to get to the bottom of the bombing when it occurred back in 1995 and stayed with it for a while after that. And the Oklahoma Bombing Investigation Commission that was formed that had several different people involved in that, working on the case, most of them civilians. The whole key there, the whole thing that they were trying to get out and put forth in the movie was proof that the government had foreknowledge that this was going to happen before it happened. There's so many things that led up to it that we found out later. Why was the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office bomb squad at the building at 6 o'clock in the morning with a bomb truck? Why were there dogs there searching the area? Why was the building staked out by the Sheriff's Office prior to the Ryder's truck ever showing up? I've seen photographs of from a stakeout camera of the front of the Murrah building where a UPS truck drives up just before 9 o'clock in the morning right in front of the front door, and they've got a picture of it. They're sitting there taking pictures of the building. UPS truck leaves, and then, of course, the Ryder truck shows up a little bit later. So we know that occurred at the time. We've got so many different eyewitnesses that saw Middle Easterners leave the front of the building that held the parking place for the Ryder truck so McVeigh could pull it up. And there was other people in the Ryder truck. How many, we don't know, because the FBI has never showed us any of the dozens of surveillance videotapes that were taken at the scene. You know, you look at the Kennedy assassination, and at least you got the Zapruder film that whether it's been doctored since then or not, it's irrelevant. The problem is we've got the Zapruder film. It was released to the public. Anybody can watch it and see the assassination of John F. Kennedy, but yet we're not allowed to see any of the videotapes of the Oklahoma City bombing case. Now, if there's no others out there, if it was McVeigh and Nichols and the case is closed, then show us the tapes. What's the problem? That's the Achilles heel of the whole case right there, is the videotapes. There are so many aspects to this case, so many facets that you can explore that just don't make sense, or they do make sense, and you can't do anything with them. Jana Davis did a fantastic job. She was a reporter for KFOR down there, Channel 4 TV television news, and she was working on the Middle Eastern connections, all of the different people involved that she had, surveillance pictures of. She had their names. She knew where they came from, who they worked for, the whole bit. And she got depositions, she got everything, and she couldn't give it to the FBI. She couldn't make the Justice Department even take all the evidence that she collected in this case. I give her a lot of credit for doing a lot of work on this, and she ended up losing her job over it. She did such a great job that her station was bought out, and she was fired just to shut her up. But going back to the beginning of this, Charles Key's objective in it, and especially the folks that put this documentary together, the thrust of it, the hook is did the government have foreknowledge of this in advance? Could it have been stopped? Was it a sting operation gone awry? Who in the government knew? How much did they know? When did they know it? And how far in advance did they know it? And when you start getting to those aspects of the film, you can see all of the stuff that was turned up, or at least a lot of it. There's just so much out there. I've got, when I retired, I had 5 boxes of files on just this case that went all kinds of different directions. So the documentary itself, which I was glad to help with, exposes so much that went on that was not in the mainstream news. In fact, I was assigned the case on the 3rd day, on Friday of that week. It happened on a Wednesday, the 19th of April, 1995. And Friday afternoon, I was asked by the local office of the FBI through our chief's office if I could help them, because as an investigative journalist, besides being a police officer, I had a lot of contacts that they didn't have. And because they didn't have those contacts and couldn't get those contacts or even buy those contacts, they wanted me to see what I could find out about the case, especially who was McVeigh, has he ever been to Oklahoma? If so, where's he been? Who does he talk to? And so on and so forth. But it got bigger than that. I'm kind of like a pit bull. Once I get on a case, I'm going to let go of it. Mm-hmm. And I started just going different directions all over the country with this case and finding out all kinds of things, and ended up linking up with other investigative journalists and other police officers around the country and so on and so forth. And we started turning up stuff, and I kept turning in all these reports, and they just kind of disappeared into a black hole. It just got more bizarre and more bizarre. Well, in July of that year, I went out to California to visit my father. There was no news in California about the Oklahoma City bombing. There was no news out of state about the Oklahoma City bombing or the investigation. Sure, there was news the day it happened and maybe 1 or 2 days after that, and then it was like a blackout across the country. Unless somebody was going to trial, or unless somebody had just been arrested, or the elusive John Doe 2 that they said was this Todd Bunning who rented a Ryder truck the day ahead of time, and it really wasn't him, so there really wasn't a John Doe 2, right, which was all hogwash. Unless it was something like that, nothing hit the news. So the rest of the country it was a blackout. They were kept in the dark. So unless you go to some of the books and some of the documentaries that have been filmed since then and that are available out there, you're not going to hear anything about it unless you come on the Alex Jones show or some other talk radio show where somebody that's been working on the case is willing to appear.
Well, Colonel Roberts, I know you've probably covered a lot of this in your past appearances, but a lot of people are watching A Noble Lie for the first time. I know for me it was a real primer into the detailed kind of overview because I missed a lot of that when it originally happened. But can you talk about some of the other threats to police officers? We had Don Browning, who's also in the film. There's a large section on Terrence Yankee, too, who I know you profiled, and the terrible treatment he was given. Can you talk about those threats? I mean, that's more than just prior knowledge. That's intimidating, torturing, killing police and other first responder witnesses who had relevant knowledge to this case.
Well, Don Browning is a good friend of mine. Don was fantastic police officer. It was toward the end of his career. He was a K-9 sergeant at the time, and he was one of the first two in the building, from what I understand, him and Teriyaki, and looking for victims that were still alive, trying to do the best they could. And Don saw damage inside the building that wasn't reported anyplace else. He saw